So, Venkatesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think you need to have a 360-degree view. You can't afford a silo approach. Process part of it is important, effort is important, and then the results follow. If we keep looking at only results, because the question arises, what happens if we don't achieve? For youngsters, how do I get the right kind of job? I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this. How do I make myself so that I cannot be overlooked? The minute we think there is injustice, unfair play, etc., automatically we are developing a negative trait. You are always going to be suspicious of everything here. It doesn't matter which path you take. You can be successful wherever we go, provided you have the right mindset.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Corporate Bros where we interview people at the top of corporate ladder. How did they reach there and how can we reach there too? In today's episode we have Venkatesh Chakravarty. He is an insurance industry veteran. He has experience of more than 30 years. He started with LIC and then joined and led KPMG's insurance consulting practice in India. He became a pioneer in reinsurance industry. He was head of life and health business for Swiss Re for 15 years and then Genry India for three and a half years.
And he has been independent directors at listed companies like Majesco and Mastek. And he's now an author and a life coach. So, Venkatesh, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Harsh. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you for doing this and taking out time for this. So, I'd like to start your journey. You started in LIC in 1985 way back. So, as I understand, you have an advantage in LIC because you get to work with various departments. And so, can you shed a light? How did it shape you?
I got into LIC through a competitive exam, right? Those days we had banking exams, insurance exams, etc. So I got in through the competitive exam for AA, as they call it, Assistant Administrative Officer. LIC's process, as far as the recruitment is concerned, after recruitment, 3 months of training, theoretical training would be provided to the candidates, everything to do with insurance and all departments. So actuarial was also included in it, by the way, right? Legal, you name it, underwriting claims. So the fundamentals were made very, very clear to us during those 3 months, and it was full time and residential. After that, 3 months of practical training in the branches, right, where also they rotated us through different departments, which had to do with operations of insurance business. And from there onwards, obviously, independent charge in some branch of one department. So I started with policy servicing, which is actually customer servicing, right? And from there to underwriting, claims, managing different departments, etc. So the good part was, I think, the training helped considerably, to get off the ground so that I could understand what business we were doing and how we were doing it. And as far as the managerial aspect was concerned, although that was also part of the training, that's something I obviously learned on the job.
And then coming from LIC background, which is such a big organization, structured conditions, you came into KPMG and set up the practice. So that is basically starting your business. So how was that transition? Building a business from 0 to 1. How was that experience? What was the difficulty and how did you overcome there?
That was a major transition, considering that I was coming in from insurance domain and all my experience was in the domain. Consulting is a very different aspect of any business, right? So initially, I had no one basically to guide me, right? And obviously, you cannot go to the partner for everything. They are busy, with many other things that they are doing. So, frankly, even to write a proposal, I had to look at what the consultants on the banking side were doing, because that was the other department within management consulting who are doing banking and other financial services. So I had to see, what they were doing, how they were approaching their problem, right? If the banks had a particular mandate for them, how were they approaching it? So talking to those people at least initially helped me, to decide, okay, maybe I can start doing something similar and I will have to fine tune it as I go along that, right? But one good thing was there that uh, as far as strategy was concerned, I would listen to those who had done strategy for at least 3-4 years, some experienced guys at least within that organization, right? So it gave me some clue as to what they were looking at. Of course, I read books as well, and believe me, that time there was no internet, so no Googling. It would have made my life much easier if all the things that are available today were there. But unfortunately, those things didn't exist. So I had to do it the hard way. But I should say I still enjoyed it because I was discovering something every day. For example, we got a mandate for a joint venture. I can't name the company now, right? So this was new to me. Then I thought, okay, if I am there on the other side, what would I look for as a foreign company? What would I want to look for in an Indian company? Because only joint ventures are allowed that time. Now it has changed today.
Yes.
Right? 100% is allowed. So what would I look for? And then I did my own thinking and came out with a table and decided, yeah, we'll go this way. So many things I thought of, learned, talked to people, heard them out, and then carried on. Then slowly we hired one person, two people, etc. Right? But everybody was new, so it's not that we could get experienced people. It was the whole sector was new. So there was nothing like anybody coming with huge experience. Only way that would have happened was to take people from overseas, and obviously they would not come.
And then you moved to Swissre, I think. So how did Swissre happen?
From KPMG to Swissre was a very smooth transition, right? It was not a job hunt, etc. happening, right? So I could say that, it happened so smoothly that, I felt that I moved from one company to another company, only thing from consulting to domain. And the main reason was that I felt it was a different kind of challenge because they were planning to set up the reinsurance business in India that time. They were already doing it from overseas, but they wanted to set up an office, have service at the ground level, etc., etc. So I said, this is a good opportunity for me now to get back to the domain side of it, right? And that is how I joined them. It was a very rigorous process as far as the interview was concerned. I don't know. I probably had 3 interviews, including at the board level member, and then I was invited to London office. I was interviewed there also, right? And I was interviewed by a team, with whom I would be working remotely. So it was very thorough and complete HR, leadership, this thing, everything that you could think of. I went through all those tests, psychometric, this, that. So that was a new experience for me. After that, anyway, everything went well. And then, fortunately for me, the office was already set up. There was a person heading non-life.
Okay.
He was a Swiss gentleman.
Okay.
So he was heading non-life. So I was put in charge of life and health. Right. So it started from there, and eventually the business took off. I think for almost, I would say, 8 to 10 years, Swiss Re was dominant in the market. Major market share, major this thing, everything, right? And thanks to the hardworking team, I would say, both from India as well as from Switzerland and London.
But inviting for an interview to London is good. I think that I've never heard, because they would have paid for flight tickets and everything. That would be like an expensive affair if they said no.
I guess the person who interviewed me must have been confident.
So, but you stayed CEO, like leading the branch or CEO. You can say CEO for life and health.
Head of life and health. Yeah, that was the designation, because there's no CEO.
CEO, yeah, because the branch was not yet set up. So, what are the metrics generally CEOs are or the head of the branch you were judged on? What are your KPIs or criteria?
Obviously, the major objective would have been business development, right? At that time, Swiss Re had LIC business, which they had for many years, 40 years plus, whatever, more than that, in fact. So, sector was opening, the companies are going to start, right? And then how do you go about ensuring that Swiss Re manages to get business treaties from all the new companies. So it started with HDFC. That time HDFC Standard Life, it was called ICICI Prudential, Max New York Life,
Home contact.
yeah, MetLife, right, ING, all the big names. Practically with everybody, Swiss Re had
Yes.
mortality treaties. And that time it started with mortality business and CI, but no health business as such. Of course, accident riders, all those things were there. So most of the treaties, I think, Swiss Re did get. And to a large extent, I think probably what helped were two things. One, the domain experience. Okay. Second, the KPMG consulting experience. Because at that time, before companies started, they needed more consulting experience rather than discussing about reinsurance treaties. So I went discussing with them about strategies, business strategy, marketing strategy, distribution strategy. I was involved with everything in many of these companies. And that is how reinsurance followed. So it was not about reinsurance and pricing and what is your technical. That was given, Swiss Re being a big name, right? If I didn't have people there, we would hire or we would get support. So there's no question about that. But what is it that they needed at that point in time? That's why what the customer wanted at that point in time, we were able to offer. And that's what probably made the difference, that we got practically everything in those few years. We practically, Swiss Re at that time dominated the market.
So your consulting experience also
Very much useful, because there was no point in talking about reinsurance when they had when they didn't know what kind of marketing strategy to follow, what should be my distribution strategy, what are the pros and cons. Then I had to look at whether we have expertise in that channel, in Zurich or London. And if we had that experience, then we would request that person to come and make a presentation, discuss. So all those things basically which they needed. So this was exactly the need-based consulting. Whatever was required by them at that point in time, we could try and deliver.
After Swiss Re, you retired and then came back to Gen Re. So what was the rationale behind it? Was retiring and then coming back?
Well, I felt I had done a long enough stint in the insurance.
Yeah, you were 15 years for Swiss Re.
And I had other things on my mind which I wanted to do, right, and for which I was not getting any time. I don't know whether that was an excuse or not, but whatever it is, it was not happening the way. And one of them was obviously writing a book. Second was volunteering for NGOs, etc.
Yes.
So all these things I wanted to do at that time. And of course, I wanted to read more.
Okay.
All sorts of books, management books, spiritual books, etc., etc., for which I needed time. It would not happen, if you're always involved in business. Any business for that matter. I'm not saying this or that business. So I carried on like that. And then surprisingly, I got a call from somebody known to me in Gen Re, not from India, outside India. That gentleman had worked with me in Swiss Re in the past, right? And we had this dialogue. So we won't get into the details of this, but eventually, after speaking to them, I had said, first, there's so many others in the market, you please try and talk to them and take me as the last option, if possible. So that's because I wanted to carry on with what I was doing. So I think after 6 months they came back, or 4 months, I don't know, 4 to 5 months they came back. They said, I think we would still like you to reconsider, etc. And then there was people known to me who talked to me, said it would be good, if you can join. And we are interested in setting up a branch. I think that was something which also interested me. That again, this would be something new. Nobody has done it before because licenses were at that time, going to be given. So I said, yeah, okay, let me do this. But I always said it will be a short duration.
Temporary.
It was not going to be 10 years or 5 years, etc. I wanted to keep it short because I wanted to get back to what I was doing. But in the meantime, I was happy to be part of Genry, contribute, and frankly speaking, Genry, like Swissy, had a very good reputation. There's no doubt about that part of it, which is, I said, yeah, it's fine. So that's how I accept it, and I fulfilled my mandate, plus did whatever was required, right, for Genry, and thankfully it is still doing well, very well.
And so since you were leading two organizations, such big organizations for a long time, so like, what were the major challenges do you feel that as a people at a lower or junior level management we might feel difficult to comprehend that CEOs or the leaders might have that problem. So what were, like, can you throw some instance? What kind of challenges do you at your level face?
I think you need to have a 360-degree view. You can't afford a silo approach.
Okay.
Right? You have to keep track of everything, number one. And even though you may have more knowledge of a few functions and probably less knowledge of a few functions, you still have to know, how those functions are operating, right? So that's always, a challenge, right? At whatever level you're being, when you move to that apex level, whatever be that designation, right? You have to make sure you're scanning everything, number one. And then it's not only just the internal part of it, external, the client's part of it, right? You have to ensure that you are able to understand and manage them as well. Even if you have specialists who are going to do that work, your role is still significant because at that level, you are expected to interact with the senior management team of that company, right? Develop relationships, understand their issues, right? From an apex level, not at a lower product level or pricing level. That is not that other people can do, but at their level, what are the problems and whether we have any solutions for their problems, right? So thankfully, I think that is where probably, I felt we could contribute, a lot, right? Talking to the people and hearing them out, whatever problems they had at their level, right? And third, so one is the internal part, other is the external client-related part, and third one is the regulatory part, managing the regulator, because that's a critical component for a CEO, right? You have to meet the people, right, who are responsible for regulating those functions, whether it's actuarial or whether it is overall chairman, etc., policy making. They are all involved with policy making, right? So you have to be involved, give your views, right? If they're asking you for views, etc., or sometimes proactively, say these are some of the things we would like to suggest. This is happening in other countries, etc. So it's a kind of a 360-degree view that you need to have and work with different stakeholders because everybody contributes in some way or the other to the success of your organization. Your organization is not a standalone that you manage the internal stuff and then you are done. It's not that way.
Two things. First, how do we develop a 360 view? It is just through experience, or like, how do I develop a 360 view so in future it is more helpful to me?
I think it's only a question of understanding who are the stakeholders for you and broaden that as much as possible. To ask yourself the right questions, I think you will get the answers, and then it's a question of saying, how do I approach, each of the stakeholders, and basically listen to them, develop a relationship, good relationship with all stakeholders, be a part of adding value in some way to them. You can't just go there, talk to them, have a nice chat, and come back. At the end of it, you should say, okay, is there any way that we can be useful?
And your new book has just come out. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I think this is probably something which is close to my heart. Other two books are also close to my heart, but the title is A Perfect Symphony from the Heart, and it talks about fundamental core human values, right? We all have it within us. It's only a question of ensuring that we are able to bring it out. And if you are able to do that, so what are the core values that I'm saying? Talking about compassion, talking about empathy, I'm talking about gratitude, I'm talking about resilience, etc. Right? If these things are there, many of these questions that we have regarding leadership, team management, all those become simple. So it is not, like I said, these are the building blocks, the foundation, right? If you have this, team building is not a major exercise that you to say, oh, I need 10 years of experience to know how to build teams. No, you will be able to build it quickly. So at work, whatever be your work, self-employed, doing your own business, no problem. At home, no problem. Relationship, friends, relatives, again, you are able to manage. So that's one part of it. Second part of it, I'm talking about this focus, excessive focus on results, always. And I strongly believe, and I followed this myself, so it's not about preaching, that I have always thought that the process part of it is important, effort is important, and then the results follow, right? If we keep looking at only results, there's always going to be a little bit of fear sometimes, because the question arises, what happens if we don't achieve? Federer never went on thinking, oh, I have to win the Wimbledon. Yes, that was a goal, but forget it. And then after that, it was match upon match, game upon game, point upon. That is what he focused on. Not at the end of each set, oh, am I winning the Wimbledon? Or what happens if I don't win? No, they are focused. All the champions, wherever they are focusing on what they have to do and what best they can do, what corrections they have to make in the course of their play if any defects are coming, which their coach will tell them. So that's how we also have to go about, doing whatever we are doing, whether we are studying, whether at work, whether we have targets. Like the targets may be there, that's okay, leave it. What do you need to do now, basically? What is your plan? How are you going to go about it? How is the team going to deliver? Who is going to do what if it's a team work, right? And then say, how are we going to do our best, each one contributing to it? And then we'll see what the result is, right? And the other aspect which is important, which I thought, greed. People don't even realize it when they have become greedy. Because the distinction between wants and needs, right, is never understood, right? When does need move over to wants? Yeah. People find it sometimes difficult to understand. Once we start to understand that, then we realize it, and then we know, okay, I need to stop here, right? Otherwise, in that rush to get all the wants, because the wants are never going to cease. It is infinite. You can keep going after it. There's no end to it. And in going after it, obviously you're going to be sacrificing something. It is not, without any sacrifice, you're going to get whatever you think you're going to want. So what you're going to sacrifice is actually an enormous sacrifice. The years of your life, which you don't realize at all. At the end of it, I'll just tell you a very small story. This is from Tolstoy, the famous Russian writer.
Yes.
He said there was a rich man in a village in Russia who had enormous land, thousands of acres. But still he felt this is not enough, because Russia was a big country. And he said, our country is so big, I need to have more than this. So wherever he got a deal, he would go. And those days you had to go and meet those people and negotiate and close the deal, which he used to do. So once he heard of a very unique deal from one village which was ready to sell, tens of thousands of acres. So he thought, wow, this is something extraordinary. So he went to that village. And when he started to ask, what's the price, what are you asking for, etc., they said, well, you can have it for free. So he was shocked. He said, for free? Then they said, yes, but there's one condition. So he said, okay, what is the condition? They said, we would ask every interested person who is interested in acquiring land here to start at 6 a.m. in the morning from our village. And since we own tens of thousands of acres, you can run in any direction. east, west, north, south, run. The condition is that before sunset, you have to come back to our village. And till that time, basically, whatever distance you have covered, that land is yours. So he said, this is wonderful, great. So 6 a.m. in the morning, he got up and first he thought, let me run fast because I have to get as much as possible. He kept running. It was noon time. Then he thought, oh, should I turn back? Then he said, no. I think I still need more. It was actually, I want more. So carried on. So it was about nearly 3 p.m. by the time he had gone forward, and his pace had slowed down. Obviously, he can't keep running. He's not a marathon runner. Right? So then at 3, he thought, oh, I better turn back. So he turned. So some villager who had come, probably on horseback or whatever it is, said, yeah, this is the line. You're going to return. So he started. Obviously, when he started to come back, his pace was much slower. And plus, 6 o'clock to 3 o'clock, he had gone at least a couple of hours at a fast pace, medium pace, slow pace, and now he's returning obviously at a slow pace. But still, in between, he quickened his pace, did everything. Sun was going down. He just managed to see the village from far. Maybe it was still about a kilometer. And he thought, oh, sun is setting, I better, accelerate. He accelerated and he collapsed. So when the villagers came, thinking he was unconscious, he was actually dead. So the question arose, how much land does the person need? So that's what happens, right? When you don't know where to stop, it's endless, right? Yeah. So I mentioned that, So I think some of these things are very important for everybody and for youngsters even more. Because the desire to get somewhere quickly is there, which is fine. Ambition is fine. But also know where to draw the line. Okay. At what point should you say, yeah, right?
This is the point.
Whatever my ambition, I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it the right way. Number one. Right? I'll follow the right path. No shortcuts of trying to get there. Then fine, carry on. No, also, okay, yeah, I think after having this much, yeah, this is fine, enough. So one of the chapters is when is enough enough. So all these things I think are going to be useful because, as you know, Harsh, we are in a situation where whatever data that is made available, it says 1 out of 4 Indians are in some state of mental depression. Some state. We don't know what the spectrum is, low, medium, high, whatever be the state. Part of it is due to some of these things happen, right?
Not making the stop.
Yeah, you don't know where to stop. Expectations are too high. You don't know when to change course, right? If something is not working, you don't know what to do, right? So all these things contribute. It's okay to be confused. Okay, it's fine. But you can go to people who can probably guide you, right? Who can at least give you some direction. Say, why don't you look at this? Why don't you look at that, etc. Right? There are always options. Nothing is the end of the road. Somebody does not pass JEE, it is not the end of the road. But students think it is the end of the road.
Yeah,
I've
at that
seen
moment
that.
it seems like that.
Yeah, so how to then overcome that part of it, right? These are all real life challenges for all youngsters, right? If I don't get into IIM, my life is over. No, sorry. There is life beyond that, and you can be equally successful, equally prosperous, equally whatever you want to do in life is possible, but there is some other way for you. Or you can still do it again. That's also there. Depends on the person, situation, circumstances, etc. Right? So, I consider this to be useful in some way, as far as this book is concerned. If people read, they will at least get something, hopefully, which they can adopt later on in life or immediately also.
My next question will now seem very petty. Because after
nothing is small, nothing is petty. It's okay.
So, my next question would be like, since you coach people also in corporates and in general also about life, so what are the 3 major problems or few problems which you see in corporates people struggle with, and like, what would be the good, like what would be the general advice you give people for that few common problems?
Like I said, for middle-level managers,
Hmm.
it's the insecurity, job insecurity, especially in companies where evolution is very quick, like IT companies.
Hmm.
The challenges are very different. It's not the same in insurance and reinsurance, which is evolving slowly comparative. But IT companies are evolving very fast. And the challenges for them is, how do I keep my job? It's a big challenge. I've got 20 years experience. I'm now in my 40s or mid 40s. But I don't know whether I can hang on to my job. What do I do? This is a big challenge. Right? For youngsters, how do I get the right kind of job? You know, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't like this. Okay, so what do you like? Okay. So it's a different kind of challenge. Okay.
And so what are your solutions? Like what advice do you give people? Let's start with
I don't
youngsters.
advise, to be honest, I don't think I would like to advise people.
Or subject, whatever.
I tell them, I would say, look at all possible options you have. Whether you are a youngster or whether you are in your middle age, whatever it is, develop the necessary skills which are required by your organization if you wish to continue with that organization. Or develop the necessary skills which you think will be required by some other organization in case you wish to switch over. You may not get the same kind of job because it may not be there. But it's possible that if you have differential skills, you can get somewhere else. So, knowledge and skills, right? So that is up to them then to see what are the things that they could possibly do. And I would tell even youngsters, you are now going to be leading a life where lifelong learning is important. Nobody can say, I wish to stop here. You can't. Even in insurance and reinsurance, when IFRS comes in, different skills are required. You have to learn. There is no option. You can't say, no, I know only the old accounting standard. Won't work. You need to know it. So do it. Tomorrow, those accounting standards will also change. There'll be next version of it. So, if you are outdated, you are irrelevant. You're irrelevant. So then, if you're in 50s, oh, you don't know this. Sorry. So you have to equip yourself saying, yeah. So that's the basic thing. If you have that open mind saying, yeah, I will reskill myself, irrespective of what age I am, then fine, you're okay. And even I think employers will be impressed that you are trying to develop something which you didn't have earlier.
Like, because counseling is mostly about listening, how to be a better listener because in general also we have
Just keep your mouth shut. I think that is the first thing they teach, that out of 100 words, 90 words should come from the person who has a problem, 10 only from you. But there are people who want to talk so much that 50 words come from you, 50 that doesn't help really. You miss. When they say that, then you can think about what is to be done or what options, solutions you can give them, right? When I've not heard you fully, I've heard you say a few sentences and I'm already making up my mind, then that is not really, it's like you go to a doctor and he says, okay, tell me, and you just say, I have fever. And immediately, acha, typhoid or something, immediately he starts. And you say, hey, I've got a stomach pain, I've got back pain. I'm not through with it, right? So as a doctor, I have to wait, say, what else do you have? I have to be on that mode. Otherwise, I'm going to give something which is really not going to work, and he's going to say, this is a rubbish doctor. Isko kuch aata nahi hai. Yeah. So just to explain this, yeah, you have to listen. Otherwise, if you don't listen, you're going to come up with something half-baked.
How do I, like, as I said before, since there is a team of 5-7 people and there are some limited good projects or some limited lucrative projects, so how do I ensure that I get some of the good projects and I am not left, like I am not ignored, or I don't get any good projects? Because I feel like if you get good projects and you do well, you you get another good project, and eventually you will get promoted.
I think as an employee, we have to understand where we are within that organization and that team. Where we are in the sense, what's my level of knowledge? What is my qualification? Where I stand? What's my experience? We have got to be realistic.
Okay.
And to be not aware of these things will obviously lead to disappointments, right? So I will have to answer this in a different way. I will answer from both viewpoints. As an employer, I would look for a team which meets the requirements for that particular project, right? So whoever has the skills, the training and the experience, obviously that person will automatically become part of the team, right? That's the way I would.
Yes.
Like in cricket, if 15 players are there, all 15 are not going to play, only 11 are going to play. Whatever it is. Although all 15 are capable, but
only 11 will get the chance.
It depends on the pitch, it depends on, you may be out, or if there are more people, well, you will be left out. So it's a project team is always, going to be built around the requirements which the employer feels, or whoever is the team leader selecting. Now from the employee side, first, I think I have to become aware of what are the skill sets that are required for this kind of organization. In other words, what kind of projects they do. Do I have the skills for that? If the answer is no, I have to go and acquire it. I will work after office hours, I will do whatever it is, I will go online, attend courses, this, that, and I'll make sure that I get some certification, etc., which show that I have at least base level knowledge to do the job. That is when, I will start to at least be considered for it. If I don't do anything and I say I want to be there and I'm going to influence, it will not work. I mean, because the success of the project is going to be dependent on the skills of people there and whatever knowledge they bring to the table. So we should, instead of saying, other people may beat me to it, we should be asking this: how do I make myself valuable, or how do I add value so that I cannot be overlooked? Flip the question. And you answer this,
You'll get
it may take 1 year. It's okay. I think we have to be patient. Because somebody is ahead in the queue. I cannot jump over that person who's already done it and is doing it for 2-3 years. Right? It's not possible. Such things don't work. But if I make myself, more valuable, I keep adding value with my skills and knowledge, then my employer is forced to consider me. Arey, you have done this certification, right? Yeah, okay, good. I'll keep this in mind when the next project comes. So that's how you're going to come in, and it has to be something which is relevant to that company and the kind of project they are doing. As simple as that.
Got it. And coming to
And we don't need to worry about others. What others are doing is irrelevant.
But you feel that if we both are at similar level, and why
you do more. That's all.
But then, no, I completely understand what you're saying. But when you are in that position, you feel like this is injustice.
No, I think from your viewpoint, yes. But there must be some criteria which that person has in mind, which you are not aware of.
Okay.
We have to give the benefit of the doubt. The minute we think there is injustice, unfair play, etc., automatically we are developing a negative trait. And the minute you develop a negative trait, you're going in the wrong direction. You're always going to be suspicious of everything there. Every little thing you're going to say, oh, how did I miss this? Leave it. Even if it was there, leave it. It doesn't matter. As I said, you make yourself valuable, right? If your value increases, it's going to be hard to overlook it. So we have to say, what can I do more, to catch the person's attention? And I'm telling you, more often than not, it will be taken care of. But thinking about injustice, unfair play, you're taking a negative path, which is only going to lead to worsening of the situation, not improvement of the situation. When you talk about self-improvement, you have to know what to let go and what to retain.
Not into.
And if somebody has the skill If that person is willing to share, then you
Take
can
it.
sit down, say, I don't know anything, please share. Can you teach me? And so there are some people who will, some people who may not. Those who don't, fine, I'll go online.
Do
So-
not get into victim mindset.
No, never. I think that is the cause of major problems within companies, within teams, right? Where one person feels something was done to him or her which is unfair. There's nothing like being unfair or something. You say, what more should I do?
And what advice would you give, let's say, a 25-year-old person today, or what is the best advice you ever got in your career?
Doesn't matter which path you take. You can be successful wherever you go, provided you have the right mindset. What I call as the development mindset. If you have the development mindset, self-development and development of others, both have to go hand in hand. Because you can't do everything on your own, right? So it is important to realize no matter how brilliant we are, no matter how good we are at work, whatever it is, we will achieve things only as a team in a business environment. Assuming it's not a proprietorship. That's different, but we are not talking about, we're talking about corporate here, right? You can achieve things only as a team, right? And even at the beginning, if you start to think, I know something, I'm willing to share it with this person. Believe me, the atmosphere changes. Even those who think I should not do this, start to think, why not? So, otherwise, the negative spiral comes. One person says no, the other person says, oh, that person said no, I'm going to say. And then everybody is in the same boat. Nobody is going to progress, believe me, because nobody is going to do anything about it. Right? So, this thing is strive for self-development, at the same time, share your knowledge freely. Don't worry about anything else. Nobody ever lost anything by sharing knowledge. In fact, you gain. Right? When you share knowledge, people ask questions. When they ask questions, you're forced to think. You're forced to think. Then obviously you're going to, be more clear in what you're explaining to that person, etc. So it's a two-way process. So let us not assume that I know everything. I don't. So when I share, I'm saying, okay, you ask me a question. If I think I don't know the answer to that, I'll say, oh, okay, this is something I probably have to also find out. It's okay. I don't have answers to every possible thing, right? So it promotes a very different kind of environment, and that's how team building happens, right? When every member is willing to do her or his best, right? So
don't play zero-sum game.
Otherwise, nobody is going to progress. And be conscious of this aspect, right? Don't ever get stagnant, whatever be your level of success, because one risky aspect of success is this, that we may begin to think we know everything, right? Whereas with failure, we don't know many things, and that's why we fail. But with success also, let us have the humility to say, A, it was not entirely because of me, but many others have contributed, and I need to thank them explicitly. Right? Without it, I would not be able to succeed. Right? This is sometimes missing when people lift the trophy or get a medal. Right? Some of them, I'm not saying, right? Some of them forget to thank the coach, the teacher, whoever has played a part, and somebody has played a part. Believe me, nobody ever learned everything on their own, right? So if these things are understood, believe me, you will go from one success to the next, right? And you will take other people also. You will create also successful people, right? The idea should be that, right? You yourself should be successful. Create also successful people around you. Why do you want failures? So if you go with this mindset, you will find you are going to transform people sooner or later, because all it requires is one person to acknowledge, yeah, I am with this philosophy. Things change. Negative spiral goes the other way around. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. Good. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. Thank you, Venkatesh, for doing this, taking your time out and welcoming us into your home to record this. Very kind of you, and I thank you.